surrounded by bronze statues and flanked by two satyrs who were drunken followers of Bacchus. So there they are with their, so they were half man, half goat. They have wattles and horns. Okay, and they were the symbol of the connection between humans, gods, and nature. And they're really saying, just relax in this garden. This is a pleasure garden. And so our pool here is about 18 inches deep. The pool, the outer peristyle pool at the Villa dei Papiri in Herculaneum was about 4 meters deep. Might have been a swimming pool, might have been used to raise fish for fish farming. Experts don't know. But the purpose of a garden like this would have been threefold. First of all, it would have been a place to get some physical exercise. It's a large garden with paths. It probably wouldn't have been paved like this, but maybe had that sort of granite, that kind of decomposed granite. Secondly, it would have been a place to commune with nature, as suggested by the satyrs. And finally, it would have been a place to have an intellectual conversation. So imagine that the man of the house, the patron, would have taken a postprandial stroll with his guest of honor, another important Roman, and then every few yards we see a herm. A herm is a sort of boundary marker. It's a bust on a sort of marble slab. I can't think of the word right now. Column in a sense. So every few yards we see one. And these people, we don't necessarily know who they are. Head of a woman with braided hair. But these people would have been really important to the Romans of 2,000 years ago. And so they would have discussed the deeds and doings of each people. So they would be poets, philosophers, scholars, athletes, political people, maybe gods and goddesses. But you can see that one as head of an athlete. So it just made this a more contemplative garden, a more intellectual garden, not just to get physical exercise and to relax, but also to use the mind. Yeah, so finally...
Instead of a newspaper.
Exactly. So here we see roses. Our roses here are the damask roses, I guess roses from Damascus, but that's like the oldest they get, I believe. But the myth about roses is that after Diane, when she was the goddess of love, when she went back to save her lover, the dying Adonis, she cut her finger on a rose thorn. She bled all over the white roses, because in the beginning all roses were white. And since then, the red rose has symbolized enduring love. So here's the toadflax I was talking about. Purple flower. Toadflax was used as a laxative and a diuretic. So if you'll notice that everything in this garden is grown in sand, because everything is sort of shallow and delicate, because this garden is built over a parking lot.
Right.
So was anyone here before the renovation? Do you remember that those were the front doors? That was the front door to the villa.
Yeah.
But during the renovation, the architects wanted this to be a more historically accurate experience, and so they reoriented the front door to the one from which I took you. So we used the park on in the front door. What do we call it when we force a plant to grow in the shape we want it to grow in?
Topiary.
Very good. So these topiaries are growing over wire. In ancient Rome, they would have been growing over stones. But this is the symbol. This would be the very symbol, the epitome of humans' control over nature. Because the Romans loved their nature, but they didn't like wild gardens or sort of that English rambling garden. Everything was precisely planted, precisely placed, and here it is, very much a symbol of that.
What's on the ground?
Exactly. Here, what do you call those?
Iris.
Iris.
Beautiful.
She's the goddess of the rainbow. That was the goddess. She would deliver messages to her from Mount Olympus. The iris was used in making perfume, and the bulb was strung around the baby's neck and used as a tuber. Look up and you'll see these are all date palms, but they've been cut back. Dates we use as sweeteners. Dates, and none of that white chocolate.
Excuse me. What's on What's this tiny little on the ground?
This, one second. So this is a ground cover called woolly yarrow, and this had a medicinal use, a sort of antiseptic use, I believe.
It looks like a succulent, is it?
It does look like a succulent, and you know what? I've never touched it because, can I really bend down there? Let's see. But it looks like it's filled with water.
Is
it?
it?
You know what? They're filled with air.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, they're really interesting. You should touch it.
Woolly yarrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, they almost look like a sea plant in a way.
Yeah.
About,
do they use scent?
so what I know about roses is, in the beginning, roses were just wild, just like apples were wild. And then people would be about in the fields or whatever, and then it would be maybe occasionally a rose would have a scent. Not all of them would, say, but occasionally one would, and that would be the one they might have picked and brought home. And so that's how cultivation happens. They might have seen these apples growing and then tasted them terrible. One day, a good one came. Someone found a good one, a tasty one, brought it back, and then their seeds. So it's the fact that they were selected. So with roses, I don't think they necessarily all had scents. It was occasionally one would have a scent, and maybe it was random. So I don't know if they all.
But even though the water was an important part of the garden and the green and all those things,
absolutely. I'll talk about that in the next garden. You're absolutely right. In fact, it said that like wealthy Roman women, because it was a smelly world, right?
Sure.
Everything smelled. It was there's decay. There's no sanitation the way we know it. And so wealthy women might have taken rose petals and held them to their noses, as they walked the streets of Rome, or they probably didn't walk, they were like carried about. Right? So, absolutely, scent was, there was almost a sort of aromatherapy with herbs and scents. And then here, these two bronze statues, they are the sort of counterparts of those deer, and their message is you're now leaving a more natural space and entering a more man-made world. These yellow flowers, again, anything that looks like that is like basically a daisy, right?
Yeah, right.
But it's not a daisy. I mean, it is, I guess, but it's a garland chrysanthemum, so they weave them into garlands. And then...
And can I just ask a question about the athletes? So we're moving into a more man-made world, except... just in this area. Would there be more house there then, or more inside?
Not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily. It's just more structure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so this was
I would think it would be switched.
Actually, in the Bay of Naples, in the actual Villa dei Papiri, it's more of a coastline. This is a canyon. We're not on the sea here.
No, right.
We're close to the sea, but we're not on the sea. So this is a different, it had to be oriented differently here. So this outer peristyle garden in Italy would have been this way.
Got it.
So the whole garden, that part, you'd be facing the water.
Got it.
This one here, this orange flower, is calendula.
Yeah.
Pot marigold. So, calendula we use today to treat bruises. It's a natural homeopathic. And then here we have a seated statue of Hermes, a messenger god. Again, a god of many things, but he was also the god of, the patron of commerce and thieves. That's not really great. It's two things that shouldn't really go together, but they kind of do. A being whose feet would never have touched the ground, his winged sandals bound by a rosette at the bottom of his feet. And the original of this is in the Archaeological Museum in Naples.
And what is a rosette?
A little rose.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I do see that.
Just a small rose.
I see.
Yeah.
But what is the Rosetta Stone? Do you know? I mean.
Yeah. What is that? That's
It's something completely different.
Yeah.
It's not from a rosette.
Okay.
It's how they learned how to do replicas.
Right, but the original writing.
It was one that was translated into replicas, so they were able to see, this was the ancient one, and we know this one